I'm actually doing my podcast now. So if you see me over here, hey everybody, welcome to the Black Business Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Gatsby Wilson. Um, and we have my illustrious guest, Athena Dent, joining us today.
How's everybody doing?
All right, so you got to excuse me. I'm not in my regular studio. I'm actually at an event that I hosted earlier, and I got kind of caught in traffic. But nevertheless, we're here. Show must go on, and we're about to get started. First, I want to thank you, Athena, for agreeing to be on the show. I've known you quite a while, and you've accomplished a lot, and it's just my pleasure to have you. So listen, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them who you are and where you're from.
All right. So, Jeff, thank you so much. This is like
Athena, can
14.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I hear you fine. Let's go. Let's get it.
Okay. Awesome. So
I hear
this
you
is like,
fine. I hope you can hear me.
yes, I can. So good evening, everybody. This is so awesome. This is like 14 years in the making. My name is Athena Dent. I am originally born and raised in the Bronx. Woo. So all of my Bronx people out there, and I just want to say that I'm just very appreciative and thankful for this platform, for artists like me to share my creative work. Um, like I said, I'm originally from the Bronx, and I've lived in several places. Lived in Yonkers for 14 years, and now I am in Yorktown. So I just love being able to connect with all different kinds of people from different walks of life. And I've been fortunate to do that through my literary work. So, it's just been an awesome journey. And, it was great meeting Jeff back in 2011 at the
Wow.
White Plains Street Fair. So that's where I initially met Jeff. And, we
Yeah.
connected right away. And, he actually read my first book, which is Silk. And ever since then, he's just been very supportive of my work. He's staying in tune in all of the different artistic things that I've been doing. Since then, I have published 6 books. I'm also a screenwriter, ghostwriter, and an editor, and I'm an artistic director. I love doing productions. I love being able to just pull different creativity out of people. So
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So thank you for that illustrious introduction. We did actually meet back in 2011. I believe that was at the Juneteenth celebration in White
Yes,
Plains. And
yes.
I was there meeting vendors, meeting other business people, and I was making my way around to every table and every vendor that I saw there. So, and I actually got a chance to talk to you. I think I did a short interview on camera. We took some pictures, and we've been friends ever since.
Yes, we
So,
have.
yeah, thank you for taking the time out for me back then. It was the beginning of my career, and I really appreciated everything you did. So now you started to tell us about yourself. We're going to start with your writing. You're a very celebrated author, award-winning author. You've been recognized on so many levels from so many people. You mentioned your first book, but before that book, what
Hmm.
was your inspiration to actually become an author and a writer and kind of share your gift with the public?
Well, first I want to say I'm a nerd. So hey, nerds out there.
Oh my.
Yeah. Well, listen, nerds, we're innovators. We're just, we go after what we know, our creativity. We're visionaries, And it doesn't matter who's on our side. We just go for the gusto, and it always comes out to be a great thing. So I started writing poetry when I was 14 years old. I pretty much, stayed in the house a lot, because I grew up in the South Bronx, and it was a little rough around the edges in some ways. But so I sought refuge in my writing and music. And, I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot of poetry. And then I decided to try my hand at screenwriting. So I started doing some research on how to write and format screenplays. And then a very dear friend of mine gave me a book by David Trottier called The Screenwriter's Bible, which was the greatest book I've ever read for anybody who is a writer. And that actually helped me catapult going from poetry into writing screenplays. And, I wrote, actually, at that time, I had a brother's word processor. So if anybody knows how ancient that is, that's how I started writing my screenplays. And, I wrote 5 screenplays, and then I graduated into a Smith Corona typewriter. I actually got through 4 years of college through that, graduated and everything, while all of my classmates had computers. But, the whole time I was writing, I eventually went back to school, went to college to become a social worker. And at that time, I was a nursing assistant. And, you know, eventually I graduated, went into social work, and in between going to see my clients on the train, plane, no planes, just trains and subways and, cabs at times and buses, I would always keep a legal pad in my briefcase, and I was always writing. It was just my way of not just passing the time, but I just had so much creativity. I have a creative bulb. It's always on, even when I'm sleeping, and that is how I have built up, my literary work. So, from that, actually, my first book, Silk, it was a screenplay. I shopped it around to 2 people who I met. One was a Broadway producer and one was an off Broadway, and they both said the same thing: turn it into a book. So I was like, interesting. So I decided to turn it into a book. And ever since then, it's like the book has some kind of beam of light around it, because it just attracts people. Every festival, every venue, it's the one book that sells out. I always give the pitch about my books and what they're about. And it's just something about the book, which is about 5 intergenerational women who are best friends, but each woman goes through her own personal life journey. So it's just something with that. And it's just been great ever since. There
Yeah,
you go.
my mic was up. But yeah, I hate to cut you off because I love to hear you speak
Sure.
and tell your story. The book Silk had um, was a very significant book for you in a lot of ways. Till this day, I believe it's your best-selling book. Actually, it's my favorite book, the book that introduced me to your writing, and it kind of catapulted you into another realm when it came to your writing. So, the book Silk um, was your first book, and it still is one of the favorites. I think it brought a lot of attention to you. Now, since then, you've written several books. What was your second book after Silk?
So my second book was called One of a Kind Love. And
Yes.
I actually just celebrated 10th year anniversary in 2020. And, unfortunately, because of COVID, everything was shut and closed down, and I had to put it on pause. But it is now released. So I am very, very, very happy that I was able to finish it. And it is just extraordinary. It has a new cover. I updated the story. It's about interracial love, unconditional love, overcoming obstacles, having courage, facing lies and betrayal and secrets. And the ending is like no other. So I'm just very, very happy that I was able to re-release One of a Kind Love. It did well when it was initially released back in 2010. And then I went on to publish my third book, which was Francesca's Journey. So, Francesca's Journey, I took
Yes,
that from my
yes.
experience. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Yes.
Francesca's Journey. I think I have a picture of
Mhm.
that book, along
Right,
with some
right.
others. Now, Francesca's Journey was the second set of books that that I read for you. Not read for you, but reviewed for you. At that time, I was very active with DJ Gatsby's book club, promoting a lot
Right.
of authors and their books, and I was just
Mhm.
reading books and writing reviews. And those two books were very, very important to me
Really?
because it showed me, another
Mhm.
side of you as a writer. Now the picture that's up there is for Francesca's Journey and Emerging Cocoons. I think I had them on my holiday gift list, which is why they're there with the picture. Tell us about Francesca's Journey and how you came about writing Emerging Cocoon.
So, Francesca's Journey, I took that from my experience. I was a child welfare specialist for 8 years, and another 2 years additional social work. I worked with foster care families. I actually had a caseload of 35 families, which was double the amount of families that you were supposed to have. It was an eye-opening experience for me. I got to see the other side of when I was a nursing assistant working in a room called the Border Baby Room, which was a room for babies that were addicted during the crack epidemic. So on the other side, as a social worker, I actually was fortunate to see where those babies went. These were the babies that grown up and they were being raised by grandparents, uncles, aunts. They were in kinship care. And these were dynamic relatives who sacrificed their time, their retirement to raise their nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. And it just inspired me so much to see, especially the grandmothers, the amount of energy and just courage and just spirituality that they had to raise these children. It really enlightened me to write this book. Francesca's Journey is very important to me because it's actually educational textbook. It's not just a storybook. And what I did was I put educational section in the back of a book. So if an educator, a teacher, whether it's a middle school, junior high school, or high school teacher bought this book, they could actually use it as classroom instruction and helps with social development. It addresses various issues such as bullying, abuse, loss of a parent, change of home environment, but it also teaches children self-esteem and helping them to find their voice and to have courage growing up into an adult. And in reference to the sequel to Silk, which is Emerging Cocoon, my husband was like, "You have to write another book. You can't just leave the ladies like that. You have to write another book." So I was like, "Okay, honey, I just can't push out books like that." But fortunately enough, the creator had it so that the creative juices started flowing, and
There you
I
go.
I wrote Emerging Cocoon, and I was fortunate enough in 2017 at the Harlem Book Festival, it was selected as a finalist. I was blown away. I really
Hold on,
was.
hold on a second. Hold on a second. I
Yes,
don't think everybody heard exactly what you said. Your
yes.
book, Emerging Cocoons, was selected as a finalist. um, at the Harlem Book Fair in New York City, which is one of the largest African American book fairs and festivals in the country. It's been going on for years, and a lot of authors don't even realize or feel they've made it unless they go to the Harlem Book Fair, vend their books at the Harlem Book Fair, and actually have books featured, or nominated for the Phyllis Wheatley Award, one of the many awards that they give. So I don't
Yes.
want to cut you off. Please continue, but I just wanted to stop and let our viewers
Sure.
know how important the Harlem Book Fair is to African American authors and writers and people in the book business, and that you were actually recognized for your book.
Jeff, you're right. I actually had been a vendor for about 5 years at the Harlem Book Festival. So this particular year, they had the contest. It's the Phyllis Wheatley Book Awards. And I had just released Emerging Cocoon. And I was like, you know what? I'll enter it. Why not? You know, and the reason why the book was called Emerging Cocoon, because we all going through our transformation every day, every year throughout our lives, all of us. It doesn't matter the culture, age, or gender. We're all are going through our own personal transformations. And so I entered the book, and about a month and a half later, I got an email that it was selected as a finalist. I was like, woohoo! I was like, wow, that was the first recognition that I have received for any of my books. Um, I was very honored, very, very honored. To me, it was a big deal because the Harlem Book Festival has over 25 years of history of really giving self-published authors a platform to share their work nationally and even internationally. So for me, I was honored. I was actually offered a platform at the Harlem Book Festival to read excerpts from the book live there on the stage in front of thousands of people. So, it
Yeah.
was an honor.
Wow. Yeah, I just love the Harlem Book Fair. Uh, when I started my book club, because I live in Washington D.C. area, and one of the authors that I met told me, "Listen, if you in the book business, you're an avid reader or reviewer, and you want to meet authors, go to the Harlem Book Fair." And I had the pleasure of going there in 2014 and meeting tons of people, and that just started me traveling. Every book fair, every book festival, book release parties, book signings, anywhere I could go to meet authors, I I kind of gravitated to. But you
And
have go ahead.
I have to say this, Jeff. I have to say this. So the following year, I went as a
Mhm.
vendor again. And so this was at the end. It was 6 o'clock. Everybody's packing up. So the vendor that was next to me, who was also an author, first time, he ran up. He said, "Guess who's here?" I said, "Who?" He said, Professor Cornell West and Sonia Sanchez. I was like, no way. I was working 2 jobs. I had just worked my job that morning. My eyes were watery,
Yeah,
tired. I grabbed Silk. I ran up the block and I met her. And I had
yeah. Sonia
autographed it,
Sanchez, she's an
a
icon.
book, and I got a picture with her. And that made
Yeah.
my life. That made the
Who was
rest of
Professor
my day
Cornell West? Yeah, that's the
unbelievable.
beauty of those festivals. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the beauty of those festivals. You have iconic writers, people who, um, and there's no categories off limits at the Harlem Book Fair. No matter what category or genre you're writing in, you'll be seen, you'll be heard, and you will have authors, actually gravitating towards you. But you've done more festivals. You've been more places. You sent me pictures of tons of events that you've attended. Um, you always have book signings. You're very friendly with readers, and you're also very civic minded as well, working with organizations. Tell us about, first of all, tell us about your company and your business that we talked about off camera. Tell us about your business.
So the name of my business is Unlimited Artists. The reason why I call it Unlimited Artist because I don't limit what my creativity allows me to do. It's 14 years strong, and it's a multi-dimensional business. So I offer professional literary services that includes ghostwriting, editing. I help people put their books together. I help people do consultation and research. I do all sorts of different kinds of work. And then I also sell merchandise. I have all kinds of merchandise pertaining. I have journals. I have book baskets, which I make for various holidays and special events and occasions. Um, I sell fleece jackets with my logo, knit hats, seasonal wear. And then I also do theatrical work. I put on productions through various organizations. I do a lot of writing. I do monologues. So, I'm very proud of how I have built up my business minus no grant money, no loans. I've built it up from the ground up. A lot of late nights, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. I worked 14 years to financially build my business. So, like Frank Sinatra said, I did it my way.
All right. Well, once again, you're watching the Black Business Entrepreneur Podcast. My guest is Athena Dent from the New York area. We don't want to say New York, Bronx, Yonkers, and all of these places from the
Yes.
New York area. Um, I lived in Westchester for quite a while, as so did you. Now, and I always saw you at events in Yonkers, um, particularly Yonkers Public Library. Tell me about your relationship with Yonkers as your career goes. Spent quite a bit of time there, and the Yonkers Library and the other organizations that you work with there.
Sure. So I relocated from the Bronx into Westchester in Yonkers. And actually, at that time, um, I was working on Francesca's Journey and Emerging Cocoon. I did not have a computer. And so I did not live far from the Yonkers Riverfront Library. So I started going to the library and utilizing their computers to actually finish my books. Um, the staff is awesome. I know everybody. I've developed a respectable relationship with everyone. They used to let me do double sessions because you're only allowed 2 hours on the computer. And when my 2 hours would run out, they would give me an extra pass so that I could finish my work. And then after I published my books, they, with open arms, offered me to do public speaking engagements. So the first one was Books Without Borders. And that was done back in 2016. And it was myself and 4 other self-published authors. And it was just a great event. Around 35 people from the public came. And, it was just an awesome event. It was an awesome way, for the public to get to know us, our work, and, how our journeys, how we became writers. And then as time went on, and as I published my books, I would go back and ask, I would like to, just do more book signings. And I actually, when I celebrated my 10th anniversary of Silk, I had a very big book signing there. And it was just great. I got so much support from the community and people that knew me through the organizations that I belonged to. Two in particular, the Yonkers African American Heritage Committee. I'm an elected member, been with them for 6 years, and also now Sister to Sister International. I'm a board member, and I'm also on 2 of their subcommittees. But I also do a lot of volunteer work in the community of Yonkers, the YMCA, YWCA, That's in my blood. I've been doing volunteer work for over 30 years, since my 20s. So that is how I've, really earned respect from so many people in Yonkers. People like dignitaries Andrew Stewart Cousins, legislator Christopher Johnson, executive county George Latimer, Gary Pretlow. These people, I have come to know them. They've come to know me over the years, and we have the utmost respect for each other. So, it's just, and I still, even though I've moved, I still do my community work in Yonkers and in other places also, White Plains and New Rochelle. So, I'm just very grateful, because for me, this is a part of my purpose, my life's purpose.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of times when people see authors or writers or people in any business, you don't get a chance to hear about the things that they do outside of their gift. And you've definitely given a lot. The organizations that you mentioned are very prominent. I'm very aware of Sister to Sister, actually, and even the politicians that you mentioned. Um, I saw you with a picture with Andrew Stewart Cousins, which is the state senator in New York. Um, you have a passion um, for people, and where does that come from? I mean, I understand the writing. You write, you like to tell stories, but outside of the writing, the passion that you have for the organizations and the nonprofits that you work with, tell us, where does that come from?
DNA. Yeah, I come from a family of nurturers, healers, educators. Um, I went back to school last year, and I did it to honor my father. Today is my late father's birthday. He would have been 88 years old. And I decided to go back to school after studying living, health, and nutrition and wellness since birth. So I am now a certified health coach. Um, Back in my 20s, I was working in the health food store as a health consulting, helping customers with various type of health ailments, issues with skin, or different kinds of things. It just comes from my family. Um, just real quick story. My late aunt, she was a RN 40 years. She did private work, in-home patients, hospice care. And one particular patient she took care of for years. The patient passed away. They had a reading of the will, and he willed her his home. Um, I was amazed the fact that she told me that. But what it showed me was, when you have compassion and sincerity for another human being, that's life changing for that person. Um, I have raised, nurtured, taught children for over just about 30 years, whether it was personal friends. I was a former licensed daycare provider. I had my own daycare for a year and a half. Um, when I got the call from the city to do social work, I closed up my daycare and I went and I did social work. I loved all of my kids, all of my foster kids. They were my kids. Their parents respected me. There was always respect when I went in their home. I did not act like the police, because I was not the police. I was there to help, to make their lives better in any way. Even when I did retail, I've done retail for 14 years. I'm there to help the customer, whether they be naughty or nice. I'm still there to help the customer. So I've just been very blessed in my life to be uh, in the right place at the right time, helping people for various reasons. And that's the legacy that I want to leave with my literary work, and through being a health and wellness coach. I want people to have healthier bodies and healthier frame of minds.
All right, that's awesome. But I wanted to make sure I made time with the viewers for you to share that. Um, and kudos to you. That's a blessing.
Thank you,
Um,
Jeff.
that's a gift. Everybody doesn't have the compassion. Everybody doesn't have the love for other people to do what you did. So and I tip my hat to you, as a parent, as a mother, as a foster mother, and just a member of the community, a member of the village that helps raise other people. Once again, it's DJ Gatsby. I'm excited. We have Athena Dent in the building. We had a rough start, but we got the show going on. Um, I'm going to go back to your books real quickly. Now, you had mentioned Silk. It's 10-year anniversary. Sales still going strong. You said you wrote it as a screenplay.
Yes.
Um, how do you feel about the possibility of your books, stage play, screenplay, movie, or anything like that? A lot of authors are throwing their hats in the ring to have these their work written in the screenplays. Do you have any plans, or how do you feel about that, particularly for Silk?
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because this past September, I actually, a gentleman who is working in the off Broadway arena, he reached out to me. I was featured in Harlem Newspaper Inc. They did a spread back in February for Black History Month. They had over 200 African American entrepreneurs, business owners. I was featured in there. He saw my picture and my bio. To make a long story short, I got four of my besties together and I wrote the monologues for each of us, and we did a professional live pitch in Manhattan. And it was videoed and it was awesome. So the goal for Silk is to get Silk on Broadway, or I'll settle for off Broadway for 2023. And the goal that I'm working on for my other books, Francesca's Journey, is to get it on HBO, Emerging Cocoon, hopefully to follow up with Silk on Broadway. One of a Kind Love, I'm working on that, hopefully to get that done into a major film.
Okay, that's awesome. And I had no idea you had these plans in the works. It was just something I had to ask you because of the nature of the books that you write. Um, they tell stories about regular people and regular situations and overcoming adversity. And so I just thought that it would be apropos for you to have some of your work featured in that way. Now, you've been very successful as a writer. You have a brand new book out. We're not going to talk about that just yet. We will mention it before we go. What advice would
Sure.
you give for young, aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to share their talents and their gift in a business way? Because a lot of times people will write a book and it's like they write the book, they put it on Amazon and they're done. You handle your career as an author as a business. You're always selling, you're always promoting, you're always out, you're always meeting people, not just necessarily in arenas where books are sold, but in arenas where people come together. So, what advice would you give to a young author who's just a writer, but is interested in being an entrepreneur? Because you have, I don't know if it's paraphernalia, you have merchandising and a lot of other things going on. Again, what advice would you give for a young aspiring author?
The first thing I want to say is have confidence in yourself. I've met people who have written manuscripts and they put it in the drawer and it's been sitting there for years. Then they wasn't quite sure if it was something they wanted to do. They didn't think it would be lucrative. The first thing you have to do is have confidence in what you're writing. Have confidence in you. Know that you're good enough in whatever it is that you write, that it is going to be good enough, because you have to remember it's no different than being a dancer. It's preparation, preparation, preparation. When you are writing, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to change up things. So just start writing. Get a legal pad, a spiral notebook, and just start writing. Whatever it is that's on your mind, that's on your heart, the creative juices are flowing, just write it down and keep writing until it's done. Now, you have to do your homework. What I mean by that is do research on whatever it is. If you're going to do literary fiction, you got to make sure that your story is well rounded. The characters, they fit together, the plot, the scene, the setting. Make sure that what you're writing makes sense. You can go to the library, you can take out books, and you can read other books to help you get that flow. Now, once you've done that, you can find somebody to edit your work because you want to make sure that your work is tight. That's very, very important. I've read books where there was mistakes in the book. So that means that whoever wrote the book, they didn't take time to edit their book. Just be careful that you're not getting ripped off. So you have to, check out a couple of people before you finally pick somebody to edit your book. Next thing, find a good publisher. Now, there's a lot of publishing companies out there, but some of them will rip you off. So you have to compare, do comparison. You have a lot of different self-publishing companies like Archway, booklocker.com, Exhibitor. So you have Barnes& Noble Press, which is what I use. And I was satisfied with the quality of services that I got through Barnes& Noble's Press. It was free. It was done with ease. Basically, I just uploaded my book. I went to Staples. I got a design services to do the cover, attach the cover from my flash drive, USB, and it was done. So you have to do your homework and you have to have patience. A lot of times with writers, once the book is done, you got to have patience. It takes time, especially when you're editing, you cannot rush it. And even once you're done, okay, you sit down, you say, what do I do next? Postcards. You start designing postcards about the book. Put the picture of the book on the cover. And you start giving them out. Family, friends, co-workers, neighbors. Even if it's just your first book. Then you go on your social media platforms. Start circulating the book. Talk about the book. And then go to your local library. Sit down with the librarian administrator. I would like to have a book signing here for my book. How can I do that? So you start off small. That's what I did. During the summer, once festivals start hitting off in March, see what festival is coming up. See if you can afford it. Most vendor spots start from 125, between 125 and 175. See if you have a second job that you're working or the job that you are working. If you have a little bit of saving, invest in yourself. You must invest in yourself. That is the only way you're going to build up what it is that you're trying to create. It's very important. You got to think smart and you got to work hard. That's very important. TV is not going to do it for you. Being on social media, worrying about everybody else's business is not going to do it for you. You got to do the work to build up whatever it is that you want to share with the public. So just take your time, write, edit your work, find a good self-publishing company, Barnes & Noble's Press or booklocker.com. Get your work published. It's very inexpensive, and then you'll be on your way.
All right, you mentioned promoting your book and going out. You're always at festivals and other events promoting your work. How do you choose uh, where to go, where to vend, where to submit your book to get recognized? And first, and tell me some of the places that you've been involved, that you've been to. and doing your travels. What are some of the places you appeared vending your books and events?
Wow. Okay. So, I started off initially with the Yonkers River Fest, which is done every year, the week after Labor Day. It's a huge festival, and it's a great way for any kind of small business owner to get exposure to the public. So, if you are a person who is a new budding entrepreneur, that's the way I got started. That was my very first festival with just silk on my table. That was it. I had postcards and I had silk. And, again, it's confidence. When you're talking to people, you have to be able to talk about your story briefly and, how it relates to everyday people. And you have to make sure you put a price on your product that people can afford. Don't shortchange yourself. That's very important too. Um, so then from there, I just started doing research. And then I had people coming to me, oh, Athena, you should do this festival. Oh, you should go to this festival. I think you would do great. So it was word of mouth plus the research that I was doing. So from there, I started doing the Kensico Dam Festival, which is every year, the African American Heritage Festival, then Harlem Book Festival, then Nyack Street Festival, then the New Rochelle Street Festival, and then the White Plains Street Festival. So, there's so many different public platforms for you to share your work. You can Google it, 2022 street fairs, New York or Westchester County or New York City. New York City has over 250 fairs every summer through MardiGrasProductions.com. And that's another way you can get your work, just seen by the masses. Again, the price range, it's going up every year, unfortunately, but it's still manageable. But you have to pick and choose. You really have to pick and choose. Initially, you want to try to do every festival, and you can, but then after a while, not all of them are going to be beneficial to you. So you're going to start selecting the ones that you feel that are going to be beneficial for you. And so after 14 years, that's what I've done. I don't do every festival. Now I'm networking more with theatrical people to get my work into the theater and into film.
Okay. You said you were into merchandising, and now that's a big thing for anybody who has any type of businesses. They'll talk about the merch, the merch, the merch. What are some of the some of the things that you sell as an entrepreneur? What are some of the merchandise that you sell? To support your brand, who you are, and your books. What are some of the merchandise you sell that you would suggest budding entrepreneurs add to their collection?
Well, when I decided to branch out, because I didn't just want to just sell books, I wanted to sell things that were related to reading. So I said, okay, I first did mugs. Because, okay, when you're reading a book, you're sitting back, you're sipping a hot cup of cocoa or a nice hot cup of tea. So I added mugs. That was the first thing. The second thing was pillows. Because, again, when you think about reading, you're laying back on a soft, cushy pillow, sipping that hot cup of cocoa or tea, reading a book. Then you're going to need something to carry those books in. So then I added tote bags with my logo on it. So everything has my logo on it. So I added backpacks, tote bags. And then that's when I thought of the idea of book baskets. I love to decorate and I love giving gifts to people. And to me, it was just a no-brainer. Why not take my books, autograph them, put other little gifts inside, and give and sell them for all holidays, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, birthdays, bridal shower, baby shower, mother, Father's Day, and you can have your baskets personalized. So all of that, I made that the extension of my business, Unlimited Artists. And now, because it's seasonal, we're going into the winter, I have knit hats with my logo on the front. So I offer that, and I'll be selling blankets with my logo on it, fleece blankets. So I don't want just anything. I don't want to just sell any kind of merchandise. I want the merchandise to be relatable to reading a book. So what do you do in the winter time during the cold months? You snuggle under a fleece blanket, you lay back on a pillow, you sip a hot cup of cocoa and tea, reading a book. So that is how you make that connection with what kind of merchandise. And that's the kind of merchandise that I decided that I would add to my business, because I wanted to be relatable to reading one of my books.
All right, I'm still here. I told you I was at a Christmas party and I couldn't get away. So once again, it's Black Business Entrepreneur. We're broadcasting live from the Heritage House in McDonough, Georgia, where I just was the DJ for a Christmas dinner. But um, the highlight of my night is my interview, my exclusive interview with author and entrepreneur Miss Athena Dent. Listen, I know you're a very family oriented person. Your family supports you in all you do, and you talk about um, how you were raised. How important has it been for your family, friends, and people close to you to support your business as an entrepreneur? Trying to make the point that how important it is for your family to support you as an entrepreneur, because I know your family does. When I met you in White Plains at the Juneteenth celebration back in 2011, you had your family right there with you and supporting you. So talk a little bit about your family and how important they are supporting you.
So I just want to share this, and it's very important that I do. When I wrote, right after I wrote Silk, I was actually in an abusive marriage for 7 years. I'm very grateful, I did leave with my sons, who were toddlers at the time. And I wrote 3 books consecutively. That was Francesca's Journey, One of a Kind Love, and Emergent Cocoon. That was my way of healing. I just wanted to share that, because I want people to understand that you make choices when it comes to how you can heal. And that was my way of healing. And I was blessed that the divine creator saw fit to bless me with a good man, who is now my husband of 20 years. But at the same time, being a single mother for the time that I was, um, my youngest son was diagnosed with autism at age 3. So with the challenges of coming out of an abusive marriage, raising 2 sons and one with a diagnosed disability, it was a triple whammy. And that's when, I buckled down. Um, thank God, and I also became homeless. I had to go back home. Thank God I had my father and my stepmom and my sister. And, that was the foundation that kept me. Prayer, positivity, and being persistent. Um, I moved out from my father's house when I was 22, because I'm just a very independent person. He raised me to be independent, uh, gave me great life skills, taught me great life skills. So having to go back home at age 40 with 2 kids, it was difficult, but I was grateful that I had that village to help me stay focused, stay strong, and stay committed to getting my life back on track. And even today, um, I have to thank my husband because he was the one. Um, I left it in the room, but I actually have an envelope with 50 rejection letters in it. I tried to get an agent for 2 years and I stopped crying after the third letter. And he was like, do it yourself. You don't need an agent. You can publish the book yourself. He said, you're resourceful, you're smart, you're creative, and you're a nerd. So, you got the package already there. And it was because of him that I published Silk. So that he is my ride or die. That's my buddy, my best friend. And I'm just so grateful to my husband for just having my back, being supportive. He's like my PR person. He gets me clients. He's always talking about me wherever he goes, at work. He actually has gotten me clients being on when he used to take the bus, just talking to people. He's a people person also. He's also, self-employed. And I'm just grateful that I have friends who respect me, not just as a friend, but they see that I work to become the boss. They see how hard I work. They see the quality of my books, my website, which I did by myself. I did both websites by myself, my online store and my website. Um, you know, my thing is I don't make excuses. I always find a reason to be my very best in everything I do. I got one of the things that helped me heal was I took martial arts, and I actually got my black belt in Taekwondo at 41 years old. And that was a very important component in helping me through that difficult time being a single mother and raising my two sons. So I am grateful to my family just for their love. My sons are now 24, and my youngest son, he just turned 23 on Monday. And he's actually a professional model. He's been a professional model for 10 years. Um, I'm just grateful for whatever sacrifices that I feel that I need to make, not just to maintain my life, my journey, and my vision, but also for my family.
Bob, kudos to you. I mean, these interviews are so enlightening. I mean, I know you, at least I thought I knew you, but I only knew you in the realm as an author and following you and your career as a writer. But there was something very, very interesting about your life, um, which is why I wanted you to come on to talk about, being an entrepreneur, being a businesswoman, much more than just an author. And the question about your family and how they support you was a very, very important question. I've talked to a lot of people who are going to be on the show in the future about that. And some have the support and some don't. But the ones who do realize how important it is to have their family, friends, co-workers, people you admire, the village actually supporting you as a business person and an entrepreneur. You're just not a writer. You're
No,
much
I'm
more
not.
than that. And,
Exactly.
I'm glad you came onto the show to share that. And it's a powerful story. We you touched on some things personally that made me say, wait a minute, she's got to come back. You're a domestic violence survivor. You
Yes,
you know
I
you
am.
you have so many layers, things that have happened to you that could have hindered your success or your drive and determination to continue, and that's amazing to me. I can't wait to tell my story. I can't wait for somebody to interview me, and so I can reveal some of the things that go on in my life, but particularly the part about your family. And as you know me, I do a lot. I can't
Yes,
even
you
tell
do.
people all the things that I've done or that
That's
I've
right.
tried to do or attempted to do. And I couldn't have done it the way I did without putting God first and having people around me who
Absolutely.
really cared about me and what I did. So kudos to you, man, and your family. My hats off to everybody and your whole circle and your whole team.
Thank you
You
so
know,
much.
you stand on the shoulders of others, and you don't stand alone. You stand with people, who support you. Once again, it's DJ Gatsby, the Black Business Entrepreneur. This is my best interview so far. Thank you so much, Athena.
No, thank you. Thank you, Joe. We've been riding the wave. That
Yeah,
is
man.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what happened? And I was telling my wife about this.
Yes.
It's funny because a lot of the people that I met doing what I do, particularly with the books and being a book reviewer and having a book club
Mhm.
and then having a TV talk show in DC and doing the online stuff that I do, the people I'm gravitated towards to are successful people. They do well. It's not like I met you 10 years ago and you're not, you're still doing what you did. You're still pursuing your gift, your purpose. And so am
Mhm.
I. And I had to look at that. Longevity in this business or in any industry, it is can't be taken for granted,
That's true.
and I admire
Absolutely
you
right.
and kudos to you, man, for just staying the course, staying faithful, staying obedient to who you are and what you're doing. And again, understanding your gift and your purpose, man. So giving you your flowers right now. The show was only
Yeah.
an hour, as we know,
Yes.
it was almost going to be 30 minutes. And you were like, no, I'm going to need 60. You're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
need.
don't know. Jeff, let me tell you, I have faced so much rejection, closed
Yeah.
doors in my face. One reporter from the Journal newspaper, I
Oh,
had
journal.
oh yeah, I had published Silk and I was trying to get exposure and I
Yeah.
emailed him. He called me and he said, have you ever been on the New York Times bestseller list? I said,
Oh,
no. Well,
wow.
these are the only people that we pretty much, interview. I wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors.
That's okay. That's okay. Listen, mainstream media.
I was
When
like,
I got
okay.
into,
I said, oh, no, no, no.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm going to say this real quickly. When I
From
got
that,
into the, go ahead.
go ahead. Sure.
No, when I got into the media business, that was one of the main things. A brother sat me down and said, "Do you understand how important your platform is? Not because of how many people you reach, but just for the fact that you're doing what you do and the opportunity you have to tell stories to shed light on people that would not otherwise probably get the opportunities that you can afford." And I just want to say that real quick about media. But go ahead because I used to work for the Journal News. Actually, I
Well,
worked customer
Jeff,
service and sales for the Journal.
what you've been doing is giving creative artists like me a voice to the masses nationally and internationally. Like I said, for the 2 years of rejections, people need to see us and hear us. People need to see how viable our work is. People need to see that, yes, my book is just as good as James Patterson, Walter Mosley, Sonia Sanchez. And
Yes,
every day I push to make sure that I know exactly where I want to take my books. I want my books to be able to touch people in a positive way, to make them think, to make
sure.
them smile, to make them laugh, and hopefully, and I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm just very grateful that you're giving creative artists like me this platform, because if not, there would be a whole lot of people who would not see the work that we do.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for that, man. Thank you for that. And I, as I said, that when the gentleman told me that, I realized how important the work that I do is.
It
Um,
is
and
very
and
important.
and people will say if you touch one person or change one person's life, you've accomplished your goal doing what it is you do. And I had to realize that. When I started my podcast and the TV show, the Blog Talk Radio show, and the book club. Now, before we go, you have a new book. It is just released or going to be released quickly. Before we go, tell us about this new book uh, and and what inspired it, and where we can get it, where we can purchase it.
Sure. So, just like I celebrated 10 years in 2018 with Silk, My second book, which was One of a Kind Love. It was initially released in 2010. So I decided to um, track with the publisher, and they would not allow me to keep the cover, which was fine because I was still allowed to keep my story. So I said, you know what? God gave me the blessings to make it through COVID. And I said, I'm going to re-release it with a new cover and a new story. So here we are. One of a Kind Love, 10th anniversary edition. And I love this book. I love all of my books in a different way, but this book, it focuses on differences, and love can conquer all. It's about an interracial couple, but it also focuses on so many different things that everyday people are experiencing. And this book and all of my other books you can find on my website, which is on the screen, www.unlimited-artist.com. And you can also go on barnesandnobles.com and get any one of my books, including the new book, One of a Kind Love, 10th Anniversary Edition.
Yeah. Also, give them that email address because you answer emails, and
Yes,
which
I
a lot of
do.
people don't do. You answer emails. You have your
Oh,
website.
yes.
Tell them about the emails and give the
So
website once again.
if there's anybody out there, again, I offer professional literary services. So if you've lived a well-lived life and you want to write an autobiography, if you need help putting your book together, doesn't matter what kind of book it is. If you need help with your website, you can email me at DENT period, the letter A, 8629 at gmail.com. Or you can go on my website and go to my contact page and send me a message. I am here to help you, and my prices are reasonable. I have the most reasonable prices in the Northeast. So again, visit my website. It's colorful, it's vibrant. Visit my gallery. I have 150 pictures starting from the very beginning.
Yeah, and
Thank
actually, it's
you.
a picture of me on there too when we met.
Yes, it
So
is. Yes, it
thanks, man.
is. Yes, it is.
I looked a lot younger back then, 10 years ago. But
Oh, no.
thank
I
you
have a
so
couple
much
of
for.
pictures of you on there with us
Yeah,
together.
man. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
this
had
is
a
my
wonderful time. I miss White Plains and live in Georgia now. But again, thank you so much for being patient with me starting the show. I
oh,
gave you a phone call, said I'm stuck in traffic. I might not be able to make it. And you were like, Jeff, don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm ready. So thank you so much
absolutely.
for everything
This
that
is
you do. Thank you for
awesome.
the support throughout the years. And I look forward
Thank
to
you.
having you on the show again. Oh, now I've gotten copies of every single book you've written, and you're one of the few artists who've done that.
Except,
You've given me every time you
except,
write a book, I get it. So let's keep that same energy. Let's keep that same energy with this 10th anniversary
this will
edition
be
of
in
One of a Kind Love.
this will
I'll
be in the
text you my
mail.
address.
This will be in the mail.
Yeah, I'll text you my address so I can get it. So once again, it's the Black Entrepreneur
Sure,
Podcast,
sure.
and here with Athena Dent. Thank you so much, Queen, for taking
No,
time out
you're
of your business
welcome.
schedule. Give my regards to your family, and everybody know you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can watch this broadcast of the Black Business Entrepreneur on YouTube, and we'll also the podcast is on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. And that's big for me because I was always doing video and I just got the podcast stream started. So please go to, what does that say? Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts and Jeff Gatsby Wilson, the Black Business Entrepreneur. And check out this um, video or this podcast with the one and only Athena Dent. Athena, any last words you want to say to anybody before we close out the show?
Yes. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that I also incorporate my books into various programs. For example, Francesca's Journey. It has been incorporated at the YMCA Clubhouse at the YMCA in Yonkers in the after school program. It just got accepted at the YWCA Pearls program. It also was incorporated in the Sister to Sister International STEAM Academy Summer Camp. And also Silk was accepted by Hope's Door, which is a domestic violence program in Hawthorne, New York. So if you are a teacher and educator, if you run an after-school program, and you're interested in having any one of my books utilized in your program, please reach out to me. You can email me at the email at the bottom, or you can go on my website and you can leave a message. I do public speaking engagements, and I also give out freebies from my business. So reach out to me. I travel no matter what state or what county.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Right, whenever in Georgia, the greater Atlanta area, please look me
That's
up. I
right.
love to
I'll be
see
on the
you,
plane.
and I'm gonna keep following you and keep supporting you. And
Jeff,
to all the Black business entrepreneurs out there, if you want to be a guest on this podcast, reach out to me at djgatsbyx@yahoo.com. We'd love to have you. All right, so good night. God
thank
bless
you.
everyone. I want
Happy
to say Merry Christmas.
holidays.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy
Jeff,
New Year from everybody here
happy
at the
holidays.
podcast.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody
All right,
take care. Have a blessed new year. Stay well, stay safe.
that's right. All right, good night.
Have a good night.